Welcome to They Mostly Potted at Night. Mostly, I am Salem, joined by my co-host Graveyard.
Hello.
This is episode 136. That's 136 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. Sometimes the view of the outside world is all you have. Trapped in a prison of your own making, watching the world around you, but unable to participate. This week, we take a look at some films that explore the paranoia that exists in people in isolation. Sometimes what you think is happening actually is. That's right, we're going all the way back to 1954 with Rear Window. Good old Jimmy Stewart and the
James
all
Stewart.
sorry, James Stewart. The always stunning Grace Kelly. I'll probably talk about her story because her story is fascinating. Anyway, so Rear Window in 1954. Yes, we could have done all three, I guess, Rear Window kind of remakes slash homages, but I don't like the second Rear Window. So
1998.
yes,
Yeah.
we're just gonna cut that one out. So we're doing the original Rear Window, Disturbia, which is described as the modern retelling of Rear Window, and they were actually sued for that. But they did win the lawsuit, so they didn't actually have to pay any money or lose anything to Rear Window. But the Rear Window folks were not happy about it. But Disturbia is the modern retelling of it, and then in between there we have Disturbing Behavior, the late 90s, one of the late 90s movies that I actually enjoy from that time period. There's a very specific reason why I like it. And I will talk about that at the end of that.
Is it because you're a flagpost sitter?
No, that is not why. But that is where the the title of the episode comes from. Is that song, because that song was fucking everywhere.
Yes, it was.
That song was everywhere, and it came from that movie, and it was actually in the trailer, in the film. It was everywhere, all over that fucking thing. That was a huge song, and that's where it came from. So we'll talk about that too. So Rear Window, Disturbing Behavior, Disturbia. And we will start with the original Rear Window in 1954. Now, Alfred Hitchcock movie. Now, this movie is entirely filmed inside Jimmy Stewart's one room apartment. There's a couple of different angles. We don't all have the same angle, but it is literally filmed in one room. And he's in New York, so he has the back view, because you literally see all these other apartment buildings with all these other tenants and stuff.
The courtyard, essentially.
Right. Yeah. So he doesn't have a TV. Essentially, his TV is this world.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole bunch of residents out there. You got the the ballerina, kind of color the bikini bombshell girl who's always dancing around and stuff.
Eating ribs.
Oh yeah, I mean, you gotta stay in shape. Eat ribs. This is 1954. That's how you stay in shape. So you got the old couple that sleeps on the fire escape that has the little dog they let down with the basket. That's the thing. There's a songwriter guy who has a big piano. There's a bunch of other kind of random folks they don't really show much about. But there's Miss Lonely Hearts, which is this older lady who is lonely and trying to capture a man, I guess. And then the kind of focus of the film is on the right above Miss Lonely Hearts and below the old couple that sleeps on the fire escape is a salesman and they call her an invalid wife.
Yes, he's a jewelry salesman.
A costume jewelry salesman. He's a wholesale costume jewelry salesman. I don't know how much money is in that, but apparently enough
for a New York apartment.
Yeah, I guess so. So essentially he lives with his invalid wife. You can tell they don't get along very well. So as this kind of goes out there, so the characters that we have direct access to is Jimmy Stewart, who is a kind of photographer, like an action photographer.
Almost he was like a wartime photographer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he was. Well, this is the 50s, so every male was in the fucking war, and so of course, yeah, he was in the war, and he came back, and he was a Yeah, a photographer. So he does like action photography, wartime photography. He broke his leg and probably his hip based on the size of the cast that's on him. Filming a race car race, I guess, but from like on the track,
Yes,
and a car
yeah,
blew up and went into him and like took out his whole leg, and he's been off his leg. I think they say for like 7 weeks,
right.
and he's got 1 week left before he gets his cast off. But anyway, it's a cast that's like his entire leg. It's from his like waist down to his foot.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got one working leg and then this one leg. So basically, he's in a wheelchair 24 hours a day.
Well, of his choice for a lot of it, though.
Well, yeah, like you could lay down in a bed, but when your leg is that fucked up, it doesn't really matter. You're never
Right.
going to get comfortable.
Right.
So he has a nurse that the insurance company sends over every day to like essentially give him a massage. But I think that's kind of like an analog for what she would really be doing, because they don't want to show what she would really be doing because this is 1954. So she like essentially comes over and like gives him a massage and makes him lunch. That's like essentially her job in this film. And then he's got his as police officer, detective, like war buddy slash friend. Doyle, of course, is always an Irish cop.
New York.
Oh, it's everywhere, every civilized area. The stereotype was Irish cops. And then his girlfriend slash like wannabe fiance, Eliza, who is like, you know, queen of the fashion world and the art gallery world and whatever, played by Grace Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the cast of characters. Essentially, he's watching out the window, and you know he sees that the salesman and this lady are, you know, not getting along, right? And because he can only see bits and pieces, right? Because sometimes he falls asleep and then sometimes he's not watching. He kind of pieces together that he may have killed his wife and is trying to hide it.
Because she's gone one day.
Right, because she's gone one day. And we do see that he did not see that, you know, him and a woman left the building.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, again, he gets his cop friend to investigate, blah, blah, blah. So we find out that he left the building with a woman, drove her to the train station, sent her on the train to like someplace upstate, which is like supposed to be a relative's house or something, or a hospital or something. And she sent a telegram back saying that she got there safely. And then later on, he like shipped a big trunk of her stuff to her that she also picked up and received there. That's like from the outside view what the police have found. Nothing seems out of place. Suspicious, sure, but there's no evidence. Right? So he sees weird kind of stuff like, oh, look, the flowers are, you know, like, because he like gardens and puts these flowers on the bottom floor, and like one little section of flowers looks like it's settled down. You know, he sees him like wrapping up saws and knives and newspaper, and he's like, oh, that must have been where he buried that. So he gets the essentially, I know I'm cutting a lot of this short, but a lot of this is it's just basically investigations, right?
Discussions about and background characters, essentially.
Right. Yeah. It's like, yeah, showing a lot of what happens around them. You know, like there's a scene where Miss Lonely Hearts, you know, literally has dinner with herself, like trying to like pretend like she has a date, and then crying, and then going to a bar across the street, bringing a guy home who like tries to grab her. She gets upset and slaps him, and then he leaves, and then she cries again. You know, like, and then she's like gonna commit suicide, right, by taking a bunch of pills, which the nurse notices because she knows pills. And she's like, oh yeah, she's gonna kill herself. But then the songwriter guy plays a song that she really enjoys, and it stops her from doing it. Again, these are just little stories going on, but again, there's a lot of interconnection, a lot of discussing. Like I said, he's trying to convince the cop guy to like look in his apartment and find evidence, and the cop guy's like, there's no evidence to get. We have no probable cause. Like, just because you suspect something, we can't just go in there and do it. You know, like, we can't.
Right.
You know, he's like, you know, I'd lose my badge. It's stuff like that. So he's trying to convince the cop there. He ends up roping the nurse and Liza into the scheme to where they get invested in it too. Um, so then, one day, when he kind of figures out, oh, look, it looks like the dirt was moved. I bet you that's where he buried the saw and the knife. So the nurse and Liza decide to go over there and dig up the ground and, to see if there's anything there. There's nothing there. So he calls the guy. He gets his number from the phone book or whatever. He calls the guy and says, "Oh, I know all about you and your wife. Come to this hotel and meet me. If you don't want me to tell everybody." So he goes to the hotel. So they have like 15 minutes.
Right.
And so Liza decides, oh, well, they dug up the flower bed. There's nothing there. And they're like, oh, well, I guess should clarify before this, the little dog was digging in that spot as well. So not only were the flowers look like they were unsettled, but the dog was digging there. And then the next day, the dog was killed.
It must have been an old Hambo.
Right. Right. So, they suspect that he killed the little dog for digging up his whatever he hid there.
Because essentially it's like it was choked to death.
Right. Yeah. It's strangled to death. I don't know how you tell if a dog is strangled to death, but that's
sure.
Yeah. So Liza decides the window's open. I'm just going to climb in.
And she not just climbed up easily. Like she went to the fire escape and like full leg across, making to that window.
Yeah. In a 1950s dress.
Yeah.
So she goes in there. She's looking through the room. She finds the handbag with all the jewelry's gone. But she does find the wedding ring.
Mm-hmm.
And she ends up getting caught because he comes back early and catches her in the house. They luckily called the police, and the police got there before he could beat her up, but he was assaulting her, looked like he was going to hurt her. But again, she was in his house.
After he got a threatening note and a threatening phone call, and then someone's in his house. Yeah.
Right.
I'm saying out of character.
Right. I'm not saying that, but again, the police show up in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And essentially, ask what's going on. Liza, because she broke in and had jewelry, they basically arrested her. But she was able to signal to Jimmy Stewart that she found the ring. So the wedding ring was there. So her big theory is the woman would never have left without her jewelry.
Especially
she was convinced,
all her fine jewelry, especially her wedding ring.
Yeah. Right. And if she was convinced that if she found the wedding ring, she would know for sure that she would be dead because there'd be no way that she would leave it behind.
Mm-hmm.
This is 1950s logic, I guess. Because, women's intuition, that's, this is the thing. So she gets caught and she goes to jail. So he calls his cop friend to go bail her out. Right? Because
$270.
Well, that's bail. Yeah.
He knew how much it was going to be for all those charges too.
Well, yeah, because he's probably been in jail a lot. Being
right.
the, kind of rogue photographer, he probably had done B&Es before, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so, they all leave, they're all gone. He's alone in the house. The guy spots Grace Kelly when she's signaling that she has the ring, and he looks over and sees where she's signaling and knows that someone's there. Yep. And knows that someone's that's the person that sent her over. So he suspects that they're involved. So as soon as everybody, she gets arrested and taken away, he calls Doyle, his cop friend, to try to get her out of prison. So neither one of those are there. The old nurse lady is gone to help her also. Right. So he's all alone. And then at that time, the guy, after everybody leaves, the salesman guy decides to come over and break into his house and see what's going on.
Right.
To be fair, his door was open.
I mean, yes,
his door is always open. So anyway, the guy comes up there asking him, what do you want? How much money is it going to take for you to leave me alone? What, why are you messing with me? And he's kind of advancing on him like he's going to attack him, and he keeps hitting him back with flash bulbs, from the 50s. It's
single-use flash bulbs.
Yeah, you got these giant flash things. So flashes. We get this kind of cool camera effect where it shows the flash kind of blinding him and then his vision coming back. And they do that enough to where they finally come back. Like Doyle brings Liza back.
Mm-hmm.
And they go back to the house to like essentially because she explained to Doyle that she found the ring. So they go back to the apartment to arrest him, but he's not there. He's attacking Jimmy Stewart across the street. So he waits until he can see them and then he yells for them. And then they come over to try to help, but not before the guy, what was his name? Lars Torvald, I think. Anyway, that was the salesman name, but not before he can like basically knock him out the window and hold him like by his hands from the window. The people manage to get underneath him just early enough for him to like break their fall, right?
Yeah.
So he falls out of the window but survives, and then Lars Torvald gets arrested and he confesses to everything immediately.
Yep.
He did kill his wife. It was another woman pretending to be her. So they were right the entire time. And then they show him at the end of, Liza has decided to, well, I guess kind of try to put the fashion world away and then decide to like try to conform to him to be his wife by reading an adventure book. And then as soon as he falls asleep, she brings out her fashion magazine. But now he's got both of his legs broken.
Yes, he does.
So he's going to be in his wheelchair for a while. And that's the Elfine.
Yes. I mean, do you remember the first time you even watched this, or has it just become so ingrained into like pop culture like it is for me?
I don't know. I went on a Hitchcock kick. This was a long time ago when I was younger. Because again, my I think we talk about this when we talk about Psycho. Like my uncle had let us watch Psycho when I was, I don't know, very young. So like I kind of ingrained in my head that Hitchcock was like this, in my mind at that time, like a cool kind of horror thriller director.
Right.
And so like I wanted to watch more, but I didn't know where or how. So as soon as like we got to like, I could start picking out movies in the video store, I would pick out some Hitchcock movies and watch them. And my mom was a big Hitchcock fan too, so we would watch them together usually. But also I remember we watched the Psycho like sequels, which are terrible. But because we both like Psycho, we watched. I think there was 2 of them at the time. I don't know if there's any more now, but I think
there's 4 altogether.
Yeah, I don't think we watched them more. Though I remember watching 2 and 3 though, because I think they were both out by that time. So I remember watching like The Birds, Rear Window, Vertigo, a bunch of those movies around that time. I don't remember all of them, but yeah, so it was pretty early. So probably the first time I saw it, I was probably, I don't know, somewhere between 10, 12.
Okay.
But it's always been one of my favorites. I think my very favorite is probably Vertigo, but I think this is probably my second favorite.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about, the Christopher Reeves one TV movie, I think that really brought people back to it. And it's funny because like it came about the same time that the Psycho remake came out, and that was just awful.
Well, it's that the Psycho remake just we talked about it. It doesn't make sense at all. I don't understand why he would do that.
So it's almost like someone at that point goes, you know what? We should start remaking other Hitchcock stuff as well. And
they never stopped remaking shit. They just continued forever to remake shit.
Yeah, but I mean, like they're having this resurgence of Hitchcock remakes. And I don't think it's well done at all.
No, I wasn't a fan of that one. It's a made for TV film. It's not meant to be a fucking blockbuster. It's just I don't care for it.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, like everyone, I feel like not a lot of people have seen Rear Window, but they know the premise of it completely, I think.
Sure.
I think Simpsons has something to do with that too, because Simpsons parody.
Well, yeah, it's been parodied by everything that parodies stuff, I mean,
right?
It really has. I mean, because it's one of Hitchcock's very classic. I would say top 5 Hitchcock films for sure.
Right. It's always Simpsons is like, honey, there's some sinister looking kid at me, and it's just a guy with a telescope in a wheelchair with a cast on. People
Right.
like, adults got it. Kids didn't really know what it was when I watched it. I probably didn't know what it was at that point in time I saw it. But no, it's why I like doing the show, because I have not sat down and watched Rear Window in I don't know how long.
I went through. I rewatched all the ones that I liked not too long ago. It was a few years ago.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean it's a classic.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic film.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Hitchcock is one of the great directors, especially of this time period. And again, this is my second favorite Hitchcock film, but I guess overall, I mean, as next to Psycho, it might be his most famous. It's probably this or The Birds.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Psycho, I would say number one. Birds is probably number two. This would be number three of the mainstream. People know Vertigo really because of the scenes of him hanging off the building. That's probably it. in my guess.
Yeah, in my opinion, I like Vertigo. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, Jimmy Stewart is in Vertigo and Rear Window. So me, it's like Hitchcock and Jimmy Stewart is good. It's a good thing. Good partnership.
Yeah. Do you want to go through your highlights first? Or do you want me to go through them?
That's up to you, buddy. How anxious are you to go first?
Oh, you can go first.
Right. I mean, of course, the just the actors in this. I mean, especially Jimmy Stewart, Grace Kelly are amazing. I mean, in this film. I'll talk about Grace Kelly's story just a little bit, just because I think it's fascinating, right? She didn't really start acting until 1950. Now, in the 5 years between 50 and 55, she was in like almost every blockbuster film of that time period and won an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally retired from acting, married a prince, no fucking joke, an actual prince, and became a princess, and then lived as a princess for the rest of her days.
Huh.
Never came back to acting. So as of 1956, when she got married to the Prince of Monaco, so she became the Princess of Monaco, quit acting, never went back. I mean, she was still in the public eye. I mean, she never like ran away from that, but she's quit acting altogether. But like to start where she was in 1950 to 1955 and be like, I mean, the peak of like not only fashion but of beauty of that time period, right?
Yeah,
and then just poof, gone. It was like, it's crazy to me. It's a fascinating story that within like 5 years she like stormed in, blew everybody out of their seats, and then just fucking left. It's crazy.
Man, I wish I could do something like that.
No shit. Like, I wish I could do something for 5 years, be known as like one of the greatest ever, and then retire as a prince somewhere.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
Yeah,
but,
man.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, she's dead now. I think she died in the 80s. I think something like that. But yeah, as the Princess of Monaco. Anyway, I just think it's a fascinating story. Anyway, so the police response in New York at this time period is amazing. Because like he calls his police friend and he shows up within 5 minutes, and they call the police, an assault is happening, and they're there within like 30 seconds. So fantastic police response in 1954 New York. Now I think just the way that it's shown, like Jimmy Stewart is like this, a guy that was in the fucking war, right? He's like an action photographer. He's a man of action, right? He would absolutely want to like protect his girlfriend or do something, right? And then the scenes of like him being completely helpless watching her do stuff, and he like literally can't do anything, and he's like, what can I do? What should I do? Like watching her get assaulted and stuff. It's fantastic acting on Jimmy Stewart's part, but it's also like you really feel that like, wow. I mean, you're just fucking helpless. There's nothing you can do. Like, even if you wanted to fucking help, you can't get there. He can't go down his own stairs.
Right. And
without,
he brought her
help.
Yeah, he brought her into this scheming world of it.
Right. Yeah. And that's, it was because of him, that she's over there, and now there's nothing he can do. I think it's just a great kind of scene and a great just emotional sense of that. It was great. And I do like how it's literally only filmed in that one room in the apartment.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no, I mean, you can see a lot of other shit from that room, but like the cameras don't leave that room ever.
Yep.
They're always looking out that window. That's it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're looking back in at the characters, but the camera never leaves that room. And I think it's just fascinating to me. You can have like a 2-hour film. That's great. It's amazing. You don't even realize 2 hours are going by, and it's like literally in one room. You never
Yep.
leave.
It's almost like it was shot for theater. Like the audience is that window.
Right, for sure. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I mean, if you've never seen the original, you absolutely should.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. Hitchcock is just a pinnacle of filmmaker with this. Yes, this wasn't his story, but like he made it his. And you felt you were Jimmy Stewart. You were with Jimmy Stewart the entire time. You were just as helpless, and you felt that, as you said, with him as well. I think Stewart did an amazing job. I thought it was hilarious the bikini bombshell just exercising. It's like I don't know if she's having just like a tomahawk steak or some like lamb chop while she was exercising.
Protein, man. They don't have protein shakes in the 50s. You want protein, you got to eat steaks.
I know. And then, scandalous. They showed her naked back in 1954. I mean, realistically, we have, in Disturbing, we also get a naked back. So, and I like, and this, I'll bring up Simpsons again. Simpsons was nothing happened. But in this, they're right, as we talked about in the opening of this, is that their paranoia was correct.
Right.
Everything they said was correct. And that's a rarity in movies like this, especially with paranoia. It's so easy to do all this stuff.
Well, I think that's where this trope came from, right? Because like this film came out, and then every film after it, like if you followed this same formula, you'd be like, "Oh, that's boring." Right? This is just Rear Window. Like, where's the twist, right? So like every film had to be like, when it gets to that point, like they absolutely think that they did something, and then it has to turn, right? Like, oh, there's no evidence that it happened. Oh, look, we found the evidence, and like, oh shit, it wasn't actually real. Like, slightly spoiler for Disturbia later on. When they finally get the police to look, it's not what they thought it was, and it's a twist, right? And then now you have to do something else. This film didn't have to do that because the trope wasn't there yet. But now this movie like made that trope to where like if you see something happening, you think you know what's going on, and then you get twists on you. Movie is why they have to do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like I said, it's the template for it. So and it does it perfectly. That's about all I have for my highlights. I'll go into my low points. I can't imagine it being so hot I have to sleep outside. I would not like that.
Well, if you're in a top floor New York City apartment in 1954, there's no AC.
No.
So, I mean, what else are you gonna do to fight the heat?
I'm just saying, I've been so hot that it's cooler to sleep outside, but fuck that. I don't want to live in that area.
Well, I agree. Well, also back in the days with the mattresses where you could just roll them up.
Right.
They were just like they were mats. They were not like the crazy spring-loaded things we have now.
Yeah. I mean, being around all those neighbors constantly, like you hear everything. I couldn't do that. There's no way. I couldn't be around that many people.
City living, baby.
I can't do it.
Well, some people can, some people can't, and it's okay. People that don't grow up in the city like it more. I like people that don't grow up in an area where people are so tightly packed seem to like enjoy it.
Why?
And then, I don't know. Because I grew up in the city, so I want to get the hell away from that. I need room. I don't want to. Yeah. I don't like people looking at me all the time. And that's me. But I grew up in the city. People that like the most sparsely populated area that you're in, the more like you like to be in like a crowded city area like that.
So weird.
Obviously not. That's not the final rule. I'm just saying, like, in my experience, people that come from like rural areas seem to like city living.
So weird.
I agree.
Yeah, okay. So I did the inflation cost for what she spent on that dress. It was $1,100 in 1954.
She didn't spend anything on that
I'm saying,
dress.
well, it's how much it costs, but
Yes.
it's $13,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't imagine spending $1,100 on a normal dress today.
Well, this is she was the height of fashion at that time.
Yes, God.
But that's again, if well, you got to figure New York. How many crazy rich people are in New York?
Oh, a lot.
Right. So if you got crazy ass rich people, what do they want to spend their crazy ass rich money on? Shit.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Doyle's oh, that's just women's intuition. That's just women's, psychicness, because product of its time.
This is
Yeah.
mid 50s, early to mid 50s.
Obviously the poor dog. And then I feel sorry for the new dog that's having to train to sit in the baskets as it's lured 3 floors down.
Wow. I've seen little dogs that can do that. I've seen cats that can do that too.
Yeah. And my God, Jimmy Stewart, she is throwing herself at you. Just throwing herself.
He doesn't want to be tied down, man.
This
is the 50s, okay?
I know, but she couldn't have made it any more clear.
She was making it very clear because again, this is the 50s. There was not as many games as there are now. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying there was not.
Does your landlord know?
There was big times back then. That was like serious. If somebody moved into an apartment without letting your landlord know, that was like, grounds for dismissal.
Well, I just think because you're supposed to tell your landlord everything. Oh, this unmarried woman staying the night at my house. But,
well, that was a joke.
But yeah, like I said, man, if only women just were that, clear every day.
Well, not anymore.
No. That's what I got. How about you?
Yeah. So, of course, the poor little dog. Who would kill a poor defenseless little dog? There's a scene. I guess you kind of have to listen to it, but I've seen it enough times where I cringe every time. When he calls Doyle, like the first time he just talks to his wife, but you don't hear the wife on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
When he calls again and they're talking to I don't know, their housekeeper or something,
Yep.
she is using the old school deep South mammy voice, and it is uncomfortable to listen to. Again, I've seen it so many times that I focus on little things, but that's one of the things I'm like, yeah, man, like that's a product of its time and not good, not in a good way.
You know what? They had a black person in the movie.
Yeah. I'll say Torvald's hair. I know it's made in black and white, right? They wanted to give Raymond Burr is the guy who plays Torvald, but they wanted to give him like a distinguishing feature that would stand out in black and white. So they made his hair white, like glowing white, so that it would show up on the black and white film. But it looks ridiculous. I'd say that's not great. And then again, okay, he knows he's fucking coming up the stairs. Why doesn't he roll his ass over to the door and lock it?
I don't know.
He can get to the door. I know he can get to the door. Why don't you just fucking lock it? He stares at the fucking door for 5 minutes. Lock the door.
Yeah.
There's no reason why he couldn't lock the door or put his own body in front of the door.
He also knew exactly what room it was. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to the apartment to figure out what person's at from down in the street or across the way. I can know exactly what building they're in.
Well, if you listen, he does stomp around in the hallway for a while, and he does try other doors.
I must have missed that.
Well, you have to listen. He doesn't see it. You have to listen to it. Because again, he's staring at the door for 5 minutes. And if you listen, you can hear him stomping up the stairs, and you can hear him jiggling other doorknobs.
Yeah, he still left his open. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. What the fuck? Why did you lock the door, dude? I don't know. Maybe he was anxious to use his flash bulbs. Maybe they were going to expire or something.
I got 10 of them. What should I do with them? I know.
Yeah.
I'll choreograph it by throwing my hand over my eyes, jutting it out. He won't know what to close his eyes in that moment.
That's all I got.
Okay.
All right. So, Rear Window, 1954. What do you got?
Our owls this week are what?
Binoculars.
Binoculars. Yes.
Everybody uses binoculars.
Oh man, this is okay. This is a hard one because it's a really good movie, and it's a classic. As for everything we said, like I said, I was being very nitpicky with my low points just because it's a solid movie. So, God, 9 binoculars out of 10. That's what I'm giving it. How about you?
Again, yeah, this is one of my very favorites. I love this film. So I'm gonna go 9.75 binoculars out of 10.
Yeah, like for anyone who just thinks, "Oh, this is an old black and white movie that's 71 years old." Yes, there is a color version of it. I watched a color version of it.
I watched the color version this time. This is the first time I watched a color version. Was this time? Every other time I made sure to watch it in black and white, but this time I did watch it.
Yeah, yeah. This is a classic Hitchcock. This is for it being, like I said, 71 years old now, still holds up really well.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us about Disturbing Behavior from 1998?
Disturbing Behavior. Also, the music video for Flagpole Sit-Up.
Yeah,
Harvey Danger.
Like I said, there's a reason why I like this movie, and I will explain it after you're done.
So essentially, we get to meet a town that starts off with 2 people making out at Lovers Park, I guess, make out point, whatever you want to call it. And she's like, "Hey, we should bone." He's like, "Okay, no." And she starts to blow him. He goes, "Oh man, Terminator eye, bam, snap of neck."
You forgot the best line of the movie. Come on.
Oh, it's in there. I need my fluids.
Well, that is just stupid. No, the best line is what she says. Because he looks at the tattoo on her leg and he goes, "Oh, that's disgusting. Why would you self-mutilate yourself?" And so she goes, "Oh, sorry. Okay, hold on. Self-mutilate this, fluid boy." Which is gotta be one of the worst lines I've ever heard uttered by a teenager.
Also, I'm pretty sure she did not tattoo that herself, so it's not self-mutilation. But yes,
no, it was just
yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yep. But anyway, he snaps, breaks her neck. I need my fluids. We have the quintessential stoner kid witness all this. Cops show up. The guy kills one of the cops. The other guy's like, "Yeah, no, we got to fix this." All right, cool. And then we cut to James Marsden, who looks, I'm going to say it right now, unfaringly the same as he did in 1998.
Yeah, he's like one of those few people that like really has not aged like at all.
No, it's sickening. Coming from Chicago to, are they like Washington?
Yeah, it's Cradle Bay, Washington.
Yeah, but essentially like an island town.
Correct.
So
yeah, there's a ferry that will take you there. Yeah.
Yeah, his little sister is one of the Ginger Snaps girls. And they're just moving there because we get the little backstory that his older brother had killed himself, and they kind of moved there to kind of get like a fresh start. I can't think of his name.
Ethan Embry is
yes, Ethan Embry. Yes. In 1998, you waste Ethan Embry for like a 30 seconds.
It's weird, but he's like in it. Like you see like short little videos of him. And it's him, and he like actually has like kind of speaking lines. but he's wasted on like only a several seconds of flashback. That's
Yes,
it,
as I said, in 1998, you wasted Ethan Embry.
for sure.
um, and so that's going on there, and James Marsden gets to meet up with all the stoner, kind of just befriends him. He's like, here's all the cliques, and goes around the cliques. Their drug of choice, what they are, blah blah. The Blue Ribbons are essentially Mormons, um, and everything like that. So they're just kind of getting to know each other, and you find out there's this, everyone's obsessed with the football team, and they're like, hey, this guy was, got showed up late to class, assaulted a teacher, and she's like, oh man, he's just a jerk. He's expelled, and he gets like, essentially the Birds version of Jocks finding him at like trying to buy a car part, and they kind of take him, and he comes back to school the next day and just like, oh, now he's a Blue Ribbon. He starts smashing his car because apparently fantastic muscle cars are not allowed in the Blue Ribbon Club.
Well, he's
Uh,
demonstrating that he no longer worships the car; he now worships his school spirit.
Yeah, fucking school spit in high school. Yes. Like, oh man, that's weird. And we get to introduce to Katie Holmes and her favorite phrase, which is
Razor,
there you
dude.
go.
I tried to make Razor work. I tried really hard. I was like, that is one of the coolest things I've ever heard. I said it a lot around this time period, and everybody was just like, no, that's not gonna happen. I tried though. I tried.
Mhm.
David Nutter, the director. I tried. I tried to make Razor happen. It did not happen.
Yes, Katie Holmes trying to be a bad girl in 1998.
Oh, she succeeded.
Oh yeah. And just kind of learning about the school and everything like that. And we get a couple more people, like we get more backstories, like, oh man, like all these people used to be like our really good friends. Here's all the people you used to hang out with. Now they all go to the yogurt shop or Shopee or whatever you want to call
Shoppy, yogurt
Shopee.
shoppy.
Yeah. And we're introduced to the cast and crew, all that stuff. Introduced to like the school janitor that's like has a rat problem and is using like ultrasonic waves to, destroy it. Played by the lovely Death from Bill and Ted.
Yeah, William Sadler.
Yeah.
Yeah. The funny part is he's like, supposed to be like mentally challenged, right?
Right.
But he's just pretending.
Yep.
Because he just doesn't like dealing with people.
Yeah. He's reading
So
Wagner.
he's literally got Slaughterhouse-Five, Kurt Vonnegut in his back pocket, and that's
Yeah.
how Cyclops, discovers that he is not as dumb as he's pretending to be, and so they kind of get like a kinship from that.
He's also literally making devices to drive rats crazy. I don't think not smart people can do that.
Well, maybe he's like an idiot savant or something.
Something like that. So anyway, all this is kind of going on there, and they're like, oh man, we got to figure out what's going on here, because as soon as people see this doctor, they kind of get changed, and they go into like the school duck system for the next town meeting, and the next people that said, hey, our kid needs to do this is the burnout kid. Oh shit. He's like, oh man, I got a gun. We're gonna stop them and kill them all. It's like, no, don't do that. Give me your gun. Nothing's gonna happen. And what happens? Well, he gets a haircut and becomes preppy and goes to the yogurt shoppy.
Correct.
And he's changed. Now it's like, oh shit, their loser group is quickly dwindling down to just UV. Katie Holmes.
It's a clever name for an albino.
Yes, it is. And Katie Holmes and James Marsden. Like, oh man, we got to figure out what's going on here. So, his sister's getting a tutorage in math or something. And, one of the girls that's there that he kind of likes is there. And she's like, oh man, I'm turned on by you. Oh wait, I can't do this. And smashes her face into the mirror going, I can't do this, essentially. And she just like pops back up. Oh, I'm fine, leaves. And like, oh man, the implant didn't work. Who would have thought that teenagers would be horny? Man, we should have done our research better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They specifically say like, oh, they get violent every time they get a hard on. I was like, okay. I was a teenager at one point in time. You'd just be homicidally violent all the time.
Right. That, trust me, we'll get to that point.
Which, I mean, to be fair, they kind of are. So they're not really wrong in that.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, all that's going on, they're trying to figure out what's going on there. Like, this town is just getting overtaken. They go to where the town's counselor, I guess, the school counselor was played by Bruce Greenwood, and they go to like the free roaming psychiatric patient clinic that everyone can just enter and leave without, safeguards or anything. Meet the guy's daughter. It's like, oh man, she was kind of like the first stage person for this.
Well, you also have to remember this is the late '90s. It was a miracle that this psychiatric hospital was even open.
That's true. That's
so
true.
they have like one security guy for like this entire giant building. I don't think it's very surprising that they can just wander around.
But they also can just leave whenever they feel like too.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh man, we gotta stop this, and we kind of find out that like Chunk is like wants Kate Holmes, so there used to be a thing, and it's like, oh man, oh look, the rat thing's driving him crazy. He's like breaking it and acting like all 2001 Space Odyssey monkeys destroying things, and like, weird. Eventually, like we find out that James' parents sign him up because he's having problems. I guess we don't see any cause for concern, but I guess there was. I don't know.
It's like parents get conned into like those fucking re-education camps shit all the time.
They were just so worried about it. Like, what bad things has he been doing to sign up for this program?
Well, he's like getting upset and leaving dinner. Like these are, and like, not doing well in school. These are all things that are very concerning for parents trying to pretend like everything's fine.
I'm saying compared to the other kids there, he's not high on that list. But
no,
he's
but again, they're like hyper aware because his older brother killed himself, right?
Right.
So they're like hyper aware that something is wrong with him and he needs therapy, and they think this is therapy for him.
Yeah. So anyway, they have just kind of this big showdown where, like, hey, they're going to recruit him. They're all at the house ready to take him, and then UV shows up, is able to take them with his truck and Kate Holmes, Dave's little sister, and they're about to leave town, and they're blocking the road, so we gotta slam on the brakes instead of just running them over.
Well, I mean, murder that's a big step.
Yeah. And then William Sadler shows up. He's like, oh man, look, I have in the back of my truck all these things. I'm gonna be the Pied Piper. And he starts, driving off the cliff because he was getting shot at by the cop. He's dying. So he essentially lures all the implanted kids into the truck and all that stuff. They are kind of taken and they escape because they're going through like let's call it the Clockwork Orange school with an implant being burned into their eye. They happen to escape and they have kind of a final show off with the doctor. He gets kicked off the cliff. They leave on the ferry. End the movie until the post-credit scene where the original stoner kid is now escaped and is going to continue to do the move forward movement. And I guess for a sequel that doesn't happen.
Correct.
Not that he has knowledge of the doctor to continue the path, but I don't think I missed really much. Did I?
No, nothing important.
Man, like you said, kind of the first thoughts was like the song, because that was, hers, bashing her head into the mirror, and Flagpole Sitta was just like the entire trailer for like 4 months leading up to this movie in '98.
Probably, yeah.
I couldn't tell you the first time I saw it. I know I didn't see it in theaters. I probably saw it when it came to home release.
I'm pretty sure I did see this one in theaters. I was very excited for this one. It was one of those movies, a few movies that I like, but I'll tell you the real reason why I really like this movie is because so very few films do what this movie did. Now all of the town's children are affected by this evil thing, right?
Yep.
How many of them are redeemed?
0.
Right. They all fucking die. That nobody survives.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. The friend that gets drafted into their ranks, right? He doesn't change back.
No.
In fact, at the end of the film, he's the only one that's still brainwashed.
Yeah.
Like every other movie like this
They turn off the machine, and
they turn off the machine. They unplug turn it off. Everybody goes back to normal. Every other movie like this is the only movie that I can think of where this type of thing happens, and they just fucking kill them all.
Yep.
And they don't even try saving anybody.
We can save them. They're too far gone.
Right.
Did you try? No.
Yeah. Nope. Didn't try it all. But I mean, at that point, it's like they're kids, right? Like they don't know if they can be redeemed or not, but they just need to get the fuck away, and these people are just stopping them.
Yep.
You know, so I mean, I don't blame them for what happened, you know, but again, it's just so rare. That's why I like this movie a lot. Is because it just doesn't fucking stop. It doesn't pull that punch at all.
Right.
It doesn't like show like the kids wake up going all groggy, like, oh, what happened? No. Nope. They all fucking fly off the cliff and die. Everybody does. The hero, old, janitor that saves them, fucking dead. All the fucking kids, fucking dead.
Yep.
You know, and then their friend who they were trying, didn't even try to save in any way, is still infected by whatever this thing is. Yep. It's just funny because they were in the place where this stuff happens, and they didn't find a machine to turn off or anything, which is every other movie like this happens, and that doesn't. So that's the reason why I really like this. It gets huge points for not pulling that punch. There's supposedly a director's cut of this film around.
Really?
Well, you'll never find it. It doesn't exist. But it was supposed to be like almost 2 hours long, and it was supposed to be much better. But it was like literally a director's cut. Like the director was the only one who had this cut because the studio turned him down because they're like, nope, you're not doing that. You're a nobody. We're not wasting our money. So they never. It was like supposedly one of those mystical things that existed, but it's gone. Like people have tried to find it, and it's not. It doesn't exist anymore. If it ever did, honestly, nobody can say that they've seen it. But yeah, somewhere out there, maybe there's a secret director's cut of this film, but I do like it in its current state. I would just be very interested to see what that director's cut would be.
Yeah, what was cut? Yeah,
I don't know. I think it would be interesting to see more of that. But again, that's the one reason why I really like this film is that it doesn't pull the punch and everybody just fucking dies. It's a bad ending for almost everybody.
Yeah. You want me to go with my highlights first then?
Sure, go ahead.
That's exactly what we said. I said I literally have the blue ribbons die. They're just dead. No redeeming stuff. My God, this is a stack cast. At that time, you would not have thought it, but now,
well, at that time, these were all people coming up, but they hadn't quite hit it yet. Because Marsden had not done Cyclops yet,
right?
Katie Holmes was not as big as she was. She was like hot at that time, but she wasn't the Katie Holmes that she's not. I guess she's not that big now. That Scientology took a big hit, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
So she's not as hot as she was now. But like Nick Stahl, before he did any of the interesting things that he did, this is a very young Nick Stahl. I mean, it's an interesting cast. Again, criminally underused Ethan Embry for sure.
Yeah.
It's an interesting cast. There's a lot of people in this that you go, oh yeah, I know that person, right? But yeah, and I think they do a decent job. It's your standard kind of teen, the town is evil kind of horror film. It is. It just ends well. It just ends in a place you don't quite expect it to end.
Right, and I unfortunately I think this movie is overshadowed by The Faculty.
Yeah, probably.
same time frame, same stack cast.
Well, it's like Disturbing Behavior came out and then fucking disappeared. Yeah, like no one ever talked about it again. I would bring it up every once in a while, and people are like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like again, I would try saying razor, and they're like, why do you keep saying that? Like, what does that mean? I'm like, really? You never saw Disturbing Behavior? And people are like, no. Okay, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot back then, but yeah, it just literally just went poof, disappeared, never came back.
Yeah, the music on this is pretty good.
There are some good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a no FX sticker on the truck. Did you catch
that's
that?
on my list. Oh yeah, okay. That's on my list.
I'm pretty sure you didn't spot it.
I'm just like, wait a minute. Like, I didn't notice it until I watched this past weekend. Like, I never noticed it before at all.
Back then, I probably didn't even know who NoFX was at that point.
And I'm just going, like, she doesn't seem like a NoFX girl, but, you know, that's not their music of choice. I have Razor just because I know you like it a lot.
I do. I wish it would have happened because I think it's cool.
Yeah, and like I said, it's they don't really say what they did. You just know this implant is there, it goes into the eye, and that's it. There was no giant machine to turn off. Oh man, we found the mainframe that controls everyone. Nope. They just go, we're getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah, they know that. Yeah, there's some chip that goes in your eye/brain.
Yep.
And there's some kind of mind control, you know, like flashing memories and images and words into your head, but that's it. You don't know. It's just some, like, you know, mystical behind the curtain stuff.
Yeah. That's what I got. How about you?
Yeah. So again, like, the cast is great. Right. You know, we already talked about that. Again, Razor. I thought it was cool. I wish it happened. It did not happen. I think that the Blue Ribbons do a great job of just being assholes.
Yes.
Like, there's no redeeming anyone. Like, no one of the Blue Ribbons, like, even attempts to, like, have empathy with anyone else.
No.
You know, like fucking Chug or Chuck or whatever the fuck his name is. He's just like a
Charles.
massive, like, you know, like sexual assault, like, waiting to happen. Like, it's all like, you can see it in him every time he's around anybody. Like, he's like, this guy needs to be in jail for rape right now.
Yes.
Like, it's bad, but yeah, everybody is just shitty. There's no, like, hey, maybe these people can be, like, switched or changed, or, oh, maybe like their old self is leaking through. Nope. Nope, they don't at all. Like, they get short circuited by the sound, but that doesn't make them their old self again. It just makes them crazy violent until it turns off, and then they go back to their Blue Ribbon self.
Yep.
I just think they did a good job for that. And again, you know, the kids die. The friend is not redeemed and saved. It's just funny that this film is brave enough to do that. And that no one gives a shit that this film did that. It's the only one that I can think of that did that.
Oh, for sure.
So I just thought it was odd that this movie just disappeared. I thought it did something interesting, but I guess nobody else agreed with me. So, yeah, we go to my low points.
Yeah.
I already said my favorite line.
It's on my list too.
Yeah, self-mutilate this fluid boy, which is ridiculously funny. But, like, yeah, I mean, controlling children's minds, like, how? I mean, you know it's gonna go wrong, man. Like, children are very, very malleable, but, like, if you try to control where their brain is going, like, of course shit's gonna blow up, man. Like,
yeah.
you can't do that. It's the brain is still growing. It's gonna find a way to grow around or through whatever you're doing. I didn't quite understand that. I mean, again, yeah, the whole sexual assault thing is not cool. I mean, yeah, he did short circuit and stop, but, like, that was full on sexual assault before that happened. I felt bad for that. And like, okay, the Blue Ribbons, right? Like we said, they're the, like, great assholes. Like, they're violent all the time.
Yeah.
Every interaction you have with them, they are violent. And like, at the very least, they are, like, condescending on the point of, like, trying to goad you into fighting them.
Yep.
Right. And, like, all the parents are okay with this.
That's not a better version.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, you sign up to, like, this kid goes to, like, this retreat. He's supposed to come back, like, refreshed and in a better state of mind. And he comes back like a violent sociopath, and they're all okay with that.
Yeah.
It's very odd. I mean, obviously it's like a cult type thing. This is why this is happening, but it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You think this is okay? Like, you see how violent, shitty, and mean they are. Like, I guess everybody in the town is, like, covering for him or whatever. You know, the doctor's probably saying, like, oh, these are just growing pains. They'll be fine.
Go football.
Sure. Yeah, whatever it is. But, like, how can you look at the way they're behaving and be like, yep, this is an upgrade. Good job. That's all I got.
Oh yeah. I need my fluids. Jocks, of course. You know, being turned into a Mormon, not a good thing.
I don't think they were wearing special underwear, because the girl got half naked and she wasn't wearing secret underwear. I know. I think,
but, you know, that was their goal. But for being this best part. You talk about being violent, stuff like that, and then using the R word often to talk about William Sadler's character. I'm like that. Like I don't think any of them would have done that normally.
Well, yeah, this is also before that word got blacklisted.
I know, but I'm just saying, like it's like they're not good versions of themselves, as we said.
Correct.
A yogurt shop just sounds awful.
Yogurt shoppy.
Yeah, it's not even like a malt shop; it's yogurt.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, if you're gonna like try to recreate the 50s, why would it be yogurt? Like nobody ate yogurt in the 50s.
What about Frank? Oh, Frank's got a yogurt shop. We should make them like that. Frank, what do you think? Yeah, I'll fund this project.
Right, yeah. Like how about just ice cream shoppy?
Yeah. I just like this after watching this, I go, the implant is basically useless against horny. They're fucking
Well,
teenagers.
it's not useless, it just makes them violent, which again is like you see what happens.
Yeah.
They're violent all the time. Of course they are. Like
Yeah.
So yeah, if you give teenagers something that makes them violent when they get horny, like there's gonna be deaths involved, like everywhere, and there is. There's
Yeah.
like deaths and fights and every day. That not a shock.
Yeah. I don't think I necessarily cared for the Terminator style level of letting us know they're horny in this
No?
movie. No,
You don't want to be warned first.
no. I get it. I get it. I didn't need to have the glowing red eye and that.
Gonna let you know something creepy's going on, man.
Apparently. Like I said, I understand it's the 90s and it's a mental institution. I don't think you have free room patients where they can just leave the building. The doors should be locked. I understand one guard and the patients roaming around the hospital, but like just leaving through an exit just nonchalantly, I don't think
Most psychiatric facilities are voluntary facilities.
Yeah.
They didn't seem to be criminally violent.
Well, this hospital has just like everyone else, like, hey, theater actors, come be your caricature that you have.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. Okay, go crazy.
Yeah. My baby.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. That's all I have. So, Salem, you can go first. How many binoculars out of 10 do you give Disturbing Behavior from 1998?
I don't care. There's a lot of people out there that will tell me I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. This movie. It's not the greatest fucking movie out there. No, it's got the same cheesy teen trope shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's got some clever dialogue. Nick Stahl when he's like describing all the clicks and stuff. It's very clever. It's very like kind of like Kevin Smith kind of Tarantino-esque dialogue, right? Like very clever, very fun dialogue. Again, it's got that great thing that the kids all fucking die. There's no saving any of them. They just all fucking die. The parents don't like get redeemed or nothing. Like, nope. It's just over now. Again, so I'm gonna give it 8. An 8 binoculars out of 10.
Yeah, I trust me. I'm with you. I really enjoyed this movie too. I think it came out around Halloween H2O. It came around when Faculty and just got lost in other teen-centric horror movies in 1998, which is a shame. Like I said, I don't know how many movies I saw that had this trailer before it for 98. I'd say a lot.
Yeah, it was heavily marketed.
Yeah. I will also agree. It is an 8 binoculars out of 10 for me as well. It's a solid movie. It's a lost little piece of almost PG-13 horror.
Not quite. It is still an R. Again, it's not. It's maybe moving towards that direction, but not there yet. It's like the last of the 90s holdouts before it became the cheesy version of the 2000s.
Right, and I think that's what a lot of people didn't like about this is that this is the movie that just was the last bastion of hope that was heading right into that PG-13. Like if they just cut like 2 things out, it's PG-13.
Well, yeah, I'd be interested in seeing what that director's cut is. So
honestly,
might have more stuff.
Honestly, if the friend killed his family with the gun, I could see that happening, being in there and getting cut to make it more PG-13ish.
I don't know.
So
I don't know. It'd be like that scene from Lord of Illusions with the cult coming back. Like my favorite scene of the film that was like cut out of certain versions.
right.
I was very upset about that.
All right.
Okay, so now we have Disturbia from 2007, starring our good friend Shia LaBeouf. Now, I like Shia LaBeouf. I don't care what anybody says. I like him a lot. Yeah, he's weird. He's out there. He does a lot of goofy, wacky shit. But he seems to always be self-aware enough to know what he's doing is stupid. You know, he never makes excuses for himself. He's always honest about how dumb of shit that he's doing, and I respect him for that. But this is still a young Shia LaBeouf doing Disturbia. Like we said before, this is essentially a modern retelling of Rear Window. So the very beginning of the film is his dad dying in front of him, which kind of makes him, you know, obviously not adjusted well. So he's, you know, we see him kind of, you know, sleeping through his Spanish class. A Spanish teacher tries to pick on him, and then says, like, you know, what would your father think? So of course he reacts by punching him in the face.
Oh, I'll so now the teacher deserved that.
Oh yeah, the teacher was being a fucking asshole. Like, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, kids can sleep through your class and, like, you know, fuck up and not do well, and you can give him whatever grade you want. But like calling his dad out, knowing he's fucking dead in class in front of everyone else, like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, so he punches the teacher, and he gets you know, busted for assault. Assault and battery, and instead of getting jail time or juvie time, they give him 3 months of house arrest. So he essentially can't leave his house for 3 months. And very funny, a very, very small role played by Viola Davis of all people. You know, as like the detective that gives him the ankle bracelet, and then kind of only shows up at the very end to take the bracelet off. Like, otherwise she's not in this film, which is funny for Viola Davis, knowing where Viola Davis is now. Having her have such a small role in 2007 is very funny. You know, he's there, and of course the cop that is going to be monitoring this is the cousin of the Spanish teacher.
Of course.
So he's got a fucking, you know, chip on his shoulder. He is just waiting for this kid to fuck up so that he can bust him, right? So anyway, you know, after his mom, played by Carrie Ann Moss, is you know, kind of tries to lock him down, cancels his Xbox Live, cancels his iTunes, right? Because this is a modern film. You know, he's kind of upset by that, and he kind of like starts going like stir crazy, right? Cabin fever. Like, he's making like towers out of fucking Twinkies and trying to, like, you know, find all these like hobbies and shit, because, like, you know, his mom even cuts the cord on his TV. So he's like trying to find new things to do. So eventually he discovers, just like in Rear Window, that he can look out all the windows of his house and spy on all of his neighbors. So he, you know, spies on the neighbors and starts, you know, figures out their patterns and stuff like that. He finally gets one of his friends to come over, and he shows him, hey, look, you can see this, you know, guy cheating on his wife with the maid, and, you know, like, you know, they show this one guy next door, you know, that mows the lawn twice a day, you know, just stuff like that. But anyway, a new family moves in next door, and of course there's a, you know, beautiful young woman his age that moves in, that he becomes kind of sort of obsessed with. And then I would say probably the next, I don't know, 45 minutes of the film is him like watching her and creeping on her and like trying to figure out a way to like date her. And then they kind of sort of do. And that's, again, there's a big chunk of the film devoted to that. I'm going to kind of cut out most of that because it's, you know, we don't really care about that. Yeah. So anyway, so the main kind of plot of the film is that he, on the, you know, because he's watching the news and he's watching his neighbors. He hears on the news that there's this serial killer that they think was in Texas and has potentially moved to this area because, you know, there's like women that are missing, and, you know, whatever, the MO matches this, you know, murder that they found in Texas, where they found like these bodies like stuffed in the basement walls or something.
Mhm.
That he only goes after redheads. And anyway, and he's potentially driving a, blue 1960s Mustang with a dented front fender.
Right.
And he happens to see that his neighbor has a 60s light blue Mustang with a dented fender. And he goes, holy shit. Right? Like, so he starts watching him. He sees a redhead woman come from the club to his house. And they're like watching, him and kind of filming, him, their date or whatever. He does see her later on, like running around the house, like scared for her life, it appears, right? And he's like chasing her around the house. And then all the lights kind of go out. And he's like, what the fuck was that? And then later on he sees a redheaded woman go out to her car and then leave. So you assume, okay, I guess she left, nothing was there. And then, again, there's kind of a long section where they're trying to date and everything. And she has a party and they like, that's how they like first kiss, blah, 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 whatever. Who cares about that stuff? So it basically gets to like, while that's happening, he's like cutting up something and we see like blood splattering over plastic all over the walls and stuff. Anyway, so there's a bloody bag that he ends up dragging into his garage and leaving there, which they all assume is, a woman's body.
I mean, rightfully so.
Yeah. Again, it's like, it's kind of telegraphing that this is a dead fucking body in the garage. So they try to, he sends his buddy over there to like, they wait till he goes to the store. They have his girlfriend is like, shadowing him at the store. And then he has his friend go to his car to break in to try to like figure out the dip switches on his garage door opener.
Mm-hmm.
So that they can go in there later to figure out. So he does that, he's scared that they're coming back, but anyway, he does eventually get the dip switch code and he leaves. But not before when the girlfriend loses him in the store, and then he confronts her and like breaks into her car and like takes her keys and like basically threatens her like to stop watching him.
I'm a nice guy. I like my privacy.
Right. But again,
in the
after taking her
way.
keys and just coming into her car uninvited, like very menacing.
Yes.
So she's like, I'm kind of out. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is fucked up. And so it kind of seems like everything's going down. But then Ronnie, his Shia LaBeouf's friend, is like, shit, I can't find my phone. I think I dropped my phone in his car. So he's like, oh shit, okay, well, you got to go back in there. Well, here's the, garage door opener. I have it, we have it set up. So just open the garage door, go in his car, get your phone and get out, but maybe look in the bag while you're in the garage. Right. So he does that. He opens up the garage. He goes in, he's got a camera with another camera on it. I don't understand what they're doing with that. Cause it's like a camcorder with another, like a cam on a wire hanging
like a nanny cam to a camcorder.
Right. But it's like, it's very selective over which lens it's using. I don't understand what was happening. That technical marvel was beyond me. I don't know.
Kale
what the fuck
is
was
a genius. Okay.
I guess so. I don't know what was the point of that even was. I think it was just the point of showing that he's like smart with techie stuff. I think that's all it was trying to show, but it was dumb. Anyway, So he goes in the garage. The car was open. He goes in the car. He finds his phone, and as he's looking he's like looking in the bag, and he sees blood and hair. And then he hears noises. Somebody comes in the garage. He like runs through the house screaming, and then kind of like disappears. Right, the camera shuts off. So Shia LaBeouf now does not know where he is.
Right.
So he grabs a bat, runs over there to try to like save him. Right. Of course, his house alarm goes off. Like the mean cop shows up and arrests him. And he's like trying to go like, hey, my friend is in that house. Like, I can't find him. So the cop, looks through the house. He's like, yeah, there's nothing there. They look in the bag in the garage. It's a cut up deer. It is not a person.
Still a rotting carcass in the garage.
Right. Yeah. It's still a carcass in the garage, so that at this point, Shia LaBeouf's looking like shit. This, like I said, this is the trope in Rear Window where it can't be what you think it is. Right. Because then that's like the boring Rear Window story. You want the twist and the trope. And this is the twist, is that he knew they were watching and he did this on purpose to bait them.
Right.
He ends up getting in trouble. He's got to go to court in the morning to explain what was going on because he, violated his house arrest. So, the mom, dealing with all this kind of stuff, the police leave and she's like, can he press charges? And then they're like, yeah, he broke into his house. Like he can press charges for like, burglary and stuff for being in his house. So she decides, okay, I'm going to go over there and talk to him, right? And try to convince him not to, press charges. And
right,
then while
because
that
he's already
happened,
deep shit as he was.
right.
Yeah.
So she goes over to talk to him because she has a relationship. There was a scene earlier where he like helps her with the groceries or something, whatever. So he was kind of manipulating them. As soon as he knew they were watching him, he was kind of like poking back, but of course they didn't quite catch on because they're kids. So anyway, so then he gets like a message from, saying, turn on your TV. He turns on the TV and he sees Ronnie's face like stuffed in a closet. You can see his Twinkie tower next to him. And he's like, oh shit, he opens it up and it's like, oh, Ronnie was just playing a joke.
Yep.
So Ronnie was fine. Ronnie got out of the house, but he hid during the police thing because he's like, yeah, well, I don't want to go to jail.
Right.
He's like, what do you want me to do? He goes, okay. So at that point, they go back to, well, oh shit, he's like, you got to watch this, the film. You got to watch my Great Escape movie, right? Because the feed had cut out back, but he still recorded the whole thing. So he shows him the film, and then he goes to take a leak, and he watches the film, and when he drops the camera on the ground, the nanny cam thing, whatever, manages to look through one of the grates in the wall and see a woman's face like wrapped in plastic, like a body.
Right, and of course he does because the tech just they zoom and enhance.
Yeah, exactly. He does. Yeah, enhance.
Yep.
So he can see the face, and he goes, "Oh shit!" So at this point, somehow the dude, I guess, kind of hedged his bets and is like, "I guess they know things now."
Yep.
So he attacks the mom. We see him attacking the mom, and then he comes over to the house, breaks into the house, chases, Shia LaBeouf around and Ronnie around and the girlfriend around. Kind of beats up everybody. They kind of knock him out and they escape through the pool and then go over to his house. Where he is during this time is kind of unknown. I don't know where he could have gone for the length of time that they were in the house. But anyway, so the girlfriend goes to get help from the police. He does break his house arrest again, but the cop is like, oh, I'm going to eat my lunch first. Whatever. It's just a kid being stupid again. So it's not the response time that we were seeing earlier in the film of him showing up immediately. So yeah, Ronnie and the girlfriend go to get more police or whatever, and he's going to go try to find his mom in the house.
Right.
And so he goes through the house and he ends up finding his secret room with like his trophies and like freezers to like apparently keep bodies in, and like his cutting table. He finds the way into the basement, and the basement's like
his body pit.
Yeah, it's like all his trophies are like hung up on the wall of like their,
right,
IDs, jewelry, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there's like a pit of water with bodies floating in it.
Yep, that's great for foundations.
Yeah, exactly. And then he finds his mom like tied up, and so he, saves her, final fight with the guy, and he ends up like stabbing him and pushing him into his own water body pit. And then they escape, and he ends up getting the ankle bracelet off early because, again, what he was saying to the police was true. There were people dead, and that, and apparently, I don't know what was the deal with like the bodies being stuffed in the vent again, because okay, I'm going to complain a little bit, but it's so like the bodies in the bags were ripped. The bags were ripped open.
Yeah.
So like the stench from those bodies would have permeated the entire house.
Yes.
The stench from those bodies in the basement in the water would have permeated the entire house. So like, yeah, anybody that went in that house would immediately know there was dead bodies in that fucking house.
He's making corpse soup in his basement.
Right. Yeah. It's like, there's no way that other people would be in that house and not immediately know that something was dead in it.
Right.
Like that's how they caught fucking Gacy, because he thought he was too smart for that too. Like they walked into his house and smelled corpses.
Right.
You know, like yeah, genius move. So I don't know why they didn't do that or how they didn't notice. I don't know. They didn't specifically say that they smelled. Maybe I don't know, maybe he found some kind of like deodorant that was masking it. I don't know.
The pit was full of potpourri.
Yeah, I don't know, but they never do say anything about the smell. The only thing they say about the smell is the bag that was in the garage with the deer.
Right.
So whatever. So again, at the end, he gets the ankle bracelet off. He hooks up with his girlfriend. Ronnie's there, and he's still alive and happy. So is the mom. Everybody's fine.
Yep.
Except for all the redheaded women that he killed.
Right.
Oh, and
right.
the cop got killed too. Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, he got killed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a jerk anyway, so who cares?
I mean, that's true.
But yeah, that's it.
Yep. I mean, I have to know your first thoughts when you saw Disturbia, especially with Rear Window being one of your favorite Hitchcock movies.
Yeah, oh yeah. I was like, this is just Rear Window.
Oh yeah.
Like, so I was thinking the first time I saw it, I'm like, this is like literally the story of Rear Window.
Yep. Yeah, and the movie sets it up that way too, because he gets into a car crash. I'm like, oh, that's how he gets his broken leg. No, it's not.
Yeah, no. Again, it's close enough to where they got sued for it, but they did win the lawsuit. So again, it's not that close,
Right?
but it's close enough. The core of the story is the same. There's a lot of different elements.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. I may have seen this in theaters. I did
not. I did not see this in theaters. I know that.
Oh, this is close to your time frame of horror movies bad.
Yeah, but I liked Shia LaBeouf enough to watch. I think this might have been the movie that made me start liking him.
Mm.
I don't know what can't remember anything he did before this that I would have liked, because I didn't watch him when he was doing his child stuff. I didn't watch that at all.
Right.
So this might have been the movie that sold me. Shia LaBeouf, I think.
Right. No, like I said, this is just an updated Rear Window. Considering they had 9 years before this that just did awful.
Yeah, well, it was
awful.
It's again, I sorry, I don't want to put it on here because I don't want to watch it again. It was not good. I don't see the point of putting it here, so
no,
forget about it for now.
No, and I said, you know, it's interesting. I don't think I ever watched them like this, the way we do this show. I don't think I ever watched Rear Window and then like Disturbia like that.
No, I've never watched them so close together. I've known of them independently, but I didn't watch them back to back.
But you can really see a lot of it.
Yeah, you can really tell that. Yeah, somebody took the core of Rear Window and tried to essentially put a modern story, a modern kind of like teeny horror thing on top of it.
Right.
Because it plays a lot like it feels like if he took Rear Window and mixed it with like She's All That and
Transformers, quite honestly.
Well, that's just because it's Shia LaBeouf. No, it's like you take Rear Window, you mix in She's All That, and God, I keep forgetting the name of the fucking movie. Scream. Right. You take those 3 elements, and that's Disturbia. You know what I mean? You have the teen elements with like the teen party, like trying to like get the girl to notice you, blah, 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 right? All that kind of shit from Sees All That. Yep. You get the kind of like realistic, kind of modern, grounded horror element of Scream.
Yeah.
And then you get obviously like you're trapped in your house, but watching all your neighbors from your window.
Right.
I think those are the 3 elements that make Disturbia what it is.
That's fair. That's fair. Do you want me to go first with my highlights?
Sure.
Like I said, teacher deserved it.
Yeah, teacher deserved a punch in the face. I mean, yeah, if you're gonna be a fucking asshole, like you be an asshole, but don't like delve into somebody's personal life, especially not in front of the whole class like that. If you're gonna say something in a one-on-one meeting afterwards, okay, still a dick move, but not quite that big of a dick move.
Right, especially as it's like the end of the school year. Like you fail him, who cares?
Exactly.
Don't call him out. And like I said, this was I just said before, it's an interesting update to Rear Window. better than, like I said, the one from '98, hands down. I think Carrie Ann Moss was fantastic in this role.
Right, not a
She's
role you normally see her in. She's never really
correct,
cast as the mom.
like the happy, cheery mom at that.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's like very, very like just a different role for her, and I appreciate her for that.
Yeah, she's usually very like kind of like, headstrong, kind of like defiant,
No
strong,
bullshit,
independent
yeah,
woman, right?
yeah.
That's usually the character she plays. And this one, I mean, she still has those elements, but she's more of like just a typical teen movie mom in this.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, yeah, and it's just they did the twist well enough, I think, to make it different from Rear Window, as we discussed. The twist needed for it. So, those are my highlights. How about yours?
Yeah, I'll say the cast was great for this. I mean, I love,
Mhm.
Shia LaBeouf was great in it. Carrie Ann Moss was great in it. Viola Davis in that tiny little role was hilarious. I mean, David Morris, who plays the serial killer guy, he did a great job in this.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he's not in a whole lot of. I mean, he's in a lot of films, but he's never in like a role where he gets to shine. He's usually in like always like a secondary role where he doesn't get to do much.
right.
In this movie, he actually got to do a lot. I thought he did a great job. He's very menacing but very subtle.
Mhm.
Did a good job. He should do more like that. I haven't seen him in more roles like that. He should. Again, yeah, Rear Window Story is good. We already know that. So repeat it and change it just enough to keep it interesting. That's good. The last 30 minutes is great of this film. Again, it's we'll talk about the first hour or so later. And again, it's one of the first films I can remember like cell phones being like kind of a major component. Where like she's sending like pictures of him like from the store, right? There's like text messages and like, and pictures being sent back and forth. And 2007 is a little early for that, but still fun.
Yeah.
I'll roll into my low points here. I mean, the creepy stalker behavior. I mean, like, come on, dude. And then he tells her about it later.
And gets the girl.
Yeah, he tells her about it later, and she's like, "Oh, it's romantic." It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I think she's broken too. Is probably what's going on.
Yeah.
I would say it's more about their relationship than it is really about the murder. It's like in Rear Window, the relationship with Liza is a very secondary story. Right? It's only there to kind of give you background as to like one, why she's there, and two, like why he's kind of like avoiding marrying her and why he's avoiding settling down, right? Just to kind of define him as a man of action. That's really the only reason it's there. And she does help out. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that pretty much just gives a reason why she's there to do stuff. Or in this one, it's like more about them like getting to know each other and like, kind of like a little budding love story. And then like, again, like the weird party and like the jealousy back and forth and just stuff like that. There's a lot of that. I think too much. There's too much weight on that than there is against like the actual fun murder plot. So like I said, the first hour is more about that,
Yeah.
which is just distracting. Not necessarily bad. It's just not. I don't know, not what I would hope it to be. But I mean, like the fucking cop and his immediate response, like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like he would, like, there's no way he could be there in like 30 seconds. Like unless he's like waiting at the end of the block, there's no fucking way.
It spends the entire shift down the street just
Yeah,
waiting
exactly.
for him.
He's just waiting all day. I mean, I wouldn't put it past the cop to
the
do
way
that.
he is. No, I would not put it past
Yeah,
him.
it's like again, if you get the chip on your shoulder and looking for it, sure. But
Mhm.
yeah, the whole enhanced thing. So many movies do this, like and TV shows and everything. Like, oh, zoom in, like, oh yeah, it's super pixelated. Just and then it just goes like, it just like waves over, and all of a sudden it's like perfect picture again. I don't understand how they think that can happen. Like, it's never happened in real life anywhere ever. I don't understand how they think they can get away with it, but so many movies do.
Yeah.
Now, I think this movie would have actually done a little better if it had another act. I think it jumps the gun a little bit too much. Like once they find the deer in the garage, right? And at that point, the tables have turned against him,
Right.
right? Because he has no proof. Yeah, he might think that something's going on there, even if he has the face on the camera, right? Like, how are they going to use that? They can't use that as evidence.
Right, because he went in
Right.
there and took it.
You
Yeah.
know, he broke into his house and took, this picture. Like, one, how do they know he didn't make this up or do this himself? And two, even if they did see that, they cannot use it as evidence.
Correct.
They cannot get a search warrant based on that because it was gotten illegally.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, at that point, he really has the upper hand on them. Right? Not only that, but like he could also report them. He could also say, hey, I could report you for burglary and B&E and your ass is going to jail.
Yep.
Like he has an upper hand there that he immediately just throws away.
Yes.
Like he attacks the mother right after that. And it's like, I think there should have been another act in there of like them trying to somehow find real evidence of what's going on and him knowing the entire time that they're looking for something. But of course, being an arrogant serial killer and probably continuing to kill while they're watching him. I think that would have been a really cool act to add to this. So I think they should have taken away a good chunk, maybe take away like 15 minutes of relationship, right? And add in another act between when that bag happens and he could potentially be arrested for B&E. And then when he finally realizes they have enough information on him and then makes that jump and attacks the mom. I really think there should be more time in between there. And I think the movie would be much better. That would be like a really fun kind of suspenseful part of like everybody knowing all the cards are on the table, but you can't do anything about it.
Right.
I think that would have been a really fun act to go through, and it just kind of just jumped it. It just threw it out.
Yep.
But anyway, I thought it would have been cool if they did that. And again, okay, like he's in the room. There's like freezers, like obviously for keeping fucking bodies. Like there's plastic tarps over like a mortuary table, right? He literally has like IDs and jewelry and clothes of his victims on the counter, right?
Yep.
Why are other things padlocked? Like if somebody finds this room, you're busted. Like the trophies of your murders are right here. Like this is obviously a murder room. What the fuck could be in the cabinets that you need to padlock?
Huh.
You know what I mean? Like, is that where you keep your guns?
I guess.
What the fuck are you like? I was just like mystified. Like, okay, everything is right there. What does he need to lock up? I was just like very confused at that time. But yeah, I was just, and then again, like what I was talking about before, like the bodies in the water, the ripped open bags in the vents, like that house would reek like death.
Oh, for sure.
And there'd be no way. Like, again, that would be a cool thing, like later on, after they finally get it, like use the Gacy thing of like, we smell corpses.
Right.
You know, something like that. You know, they break in and like somehow rip open a bag so that that would have been a cool part. Something else. I just think there should have been a stretch in time. Take away from the relationship, put in another act where they're all trying to like figure each other out. I think that would have been fun.
You mean we didn't need the party speaker scene?
Yeah, again, that's loving you is easy because you're beautiful. But that's just pointless. That shit was pointless. Get rid of that shit. Give me another act with all the suspense, and the them trying to figure out each other and find evidence and stuff. That would have been more fun. Yeah. That's all I got.
All right. Having to speak in front of the class, awful. Especially for a foreign language, for Spanish. I had to do that. I had to go I was in Spanish Honors Society, and I had to go in front of an auditorium of people and do that. And I hated it then. I hate having to watch people having to struggle through that now. Kiss ass. Oh god, I remember like, hey, remember all this music that you bought from iTunes? If you don't have your login, you can't listen to your own music you paid for. Fuck you, iTunes.
Yeah, dude, I was always like, okay, you guys realize you're paying for music that is not yours.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like no one ever understood that. They're like, yeah, it is. I'm like, no, it's not.
No.
Like, can you move that to a normal computer that's not an Apple computer?
Nope.
You can't.
Especially this time frame.
Right. It's like I tried to explain to people, like, you guys are paying all this money to iTunes. You don't actually even own your music. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like the only one using fucking e-music. You know, like it didn't have all the music, but you got the MP3. You could do whatever you wanted with it.
Yes.
And I was like trying to tell people, like, don't buy it from other places. So I would, unless I got the MP3 to do with what I wanted, could put it wherever I wanted, I would not pay for it. So that's like,
correct.
well, I hate Apple. Everybody knows that. But like, this is part of the reason what made me hate Apple. Was like all these idiots are like, oh yeah, here's $1 million for all my music, and then like, how many people still have an iTunes account with all that music on it now?
No,
right,
it's all gone.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just like, yep, yeah, all your favorite music's gone. Like, no, that's I hate it then. I hate it now. It's so stupid. And it's like, oh man, you canceled my Xbox Live. Guess I'm done playing Xbox.
Right, like, dude, especially at this time, like most games have a single player component, including the game he was playing.
Yes, still lots of games to play.
Right.
If you want your, I'm not as a parent. If you want your son to not act out, don't take away the things that's keeping him sane and in the house. Unfortunately, I understand you want to punish him, but like that was kind of keeping him sane. Also, the reasons for him to like, oh, he's like a teenager. Why is he not doing all this stuff? So they need a reason to have that happen for him to go into it. Which goes into, okay, and this is kind of a weird thing in Rear Window, and it's really big in this. Okay, you're watching someone at night. Why are all the lights in your room that you're in on? They can easily
film you.
I'm saying like for Shia LaBeouf. I understand for like this, they can film you, but like in real world, it really says, I have voyeurism with the lights on. No.
Well, in Rear Window, to be fair, he left the lights off when he was spying on people at night. Because there's a scene where Liza comes in and is trying to turn on the lights. He's like, no. If you turn on the lights, they'll be able to see us.
Yeah.
So like he is keeping the lights off while he's watching people, so he knows what it is. But no, yeah, you're absolutely right where they say Shia LaBeouf
has every light on.
Has every light on. But again, there's also a scene where she looks over and is like, oh, I know she can't see me. So they're trying to say that he is preparing for that. But again, I know, but the lighting needs to be there for them to film him. That's what I think is going on.
I understand. Like, everyone knows if you want to see what the hell's going on outside of your window and you don't want people to see it, you don't turn your lights on, then open the blinds. The lights stay off because you can see out.
A black and white film is much easier to pretend like you're in the dark than a color film is.
Yes. And likes Kale because... Why does she like him? Is that's her only option or something?
Like, probably because her parents don't like him. Because the first time they saw him, he was getting arrested on his front lawn. And the parents are like, you should never go over there. Please stay away from him. And when you tell a child not to do something, what do they do?
Oh, of course they do it.
Right. There you go.
But
that's why it started.
I don't know if this is the creepiest thing or the most awesome thing that ever happened with all your creepy voyeurism. I think I love you. No, it's creepy. He's being creepy.
It's creepy, but he was being clever about it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everybody's into that kind of thing. I'm just saying it takes a special person to go, okay. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't think Shia LaBeouf was suave enough to pull it off not being creepy.
No, but I think, I think she was just as broken as he was.
Yeah.
In that same kind of broken state of mind, and she was also trying to rebel against her parents, and the kid next door that literally got arrested the day they moved in.
Yeah,
and they specifically tell her not to go over there. I think that's a good way for her to get back at him. It just makes sense why she would do it.
Yeah. Also, some of his neighbors' habits, like your wife is immediately like 10 feet away from your house, and you pull home from work and you start making out with the woman that's there. Like, she could just forget something. Like, space it out, man.
It's for effect.
I know. And then obviously, I don't know many people that change, with their windows and blinds open when there's no one around, let alone when there's houses around.
This is a movie, buddy. This is movie world. Everybody does that in movie world.
I know. That's all I got.
Remember, Rona Mitra was doing it, and Hollow Man.
That is true. When there's like How many windows facing you?
I'm just saying, this is movie world. This is how the movie world works. If you're an attractive woman, it's against the law for you to
To own
have your
blinds?
blinds down while you're getting undressed. That's a fact.
That's true. That's true. But that's all I got.
All right. So Disturbia 2007, number of binoculars out of 10. I'll go first here. I like this movie. I've liked it since it came out. I think this is the movie that made me enjoy Shia LaBeouf as an actor. Like he's got that kind of bizarrely neurotic, but also like charming
Like
way.
Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah, very off-putting, but also charming at the same time. Very unique, and I do like him a lot. I'm pretty sure this is the movie that kind of like made me go, okay, I can see where people are saying they like this guy. But I do like it a lot. I don't think I like it as much as Disturbing Behavior, but I do like it. I will say 7.25 binoculars out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen this movie. It could be well above 10 for sure.
I don't think I've seen it 10 times.
It's kind of like you see it once and you don't really need to pay much attention to it on the rewatch unless you like scrutinizing and reviewing it. But it's just like turn on in the background type movie, and it works for that. I will give this. Yeah, this is in my opinion, the weakest of 3 as well for this episode. I will go down to 7 binoculars out of 10. So the Rear Window is the pinnacle of this story. I don't think anything's really ever going to beat it.
No, probably not.
So, and unless they make, I'm sure there's been like it has to be like a webcam version of this somewhere, right? Or like chatbot or like everyone's cameras and all that stuff. I'm sure there's a way to remake it for 2025. It'd be interesting.
Well, you could do it with like Ring cameras or something.
Yeah, you could. Interesting.
But yeah, no, you could easily do that. Yeah, again, if you want to do like a found footage type thing with like Ring cameras or yard cameras or something, you probably could.
I think it'd be an interesting update to it.
I mean, it's sure. It's a thing. You could take that idea if you want.
I could. But yeah, I said 7 binoculars out of 10.
All right. Anything you want to add?
Nope. Take us home.
All right. So next week we're exploring the works of Eli Roth. Yes, we're doing another director spotlight. With Eli Roth. We're not doing Hostel though. Hostel is probably going to be another episode down the line here somewhere. I know that's probably his most famous work, right? I'd say most popular, most.
I don't know.
Shocking.
I would say Cabin Fever people like more. I don't know.
Oh, whatever. I would say, in my mind, I would say Eli Roth is coupled with Hostel, and that's kind of what he's known for. He's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I would say that's probably his most popular, or
that's
at least his defining work. How about that?
His defining franchise.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not doing Hostel, but we will be watching Cabin Fever, The Green Inferno, and Knock Knock. I'm pretty sure I've seen Cabin Fever. I know there's a few of them. I think I've seen the first. I'm pretty sure I've seen the first one.
Yeah, the other Cabin Fevers will be a separate episode as well, because there's like 3 others.
Right. I know I haven't seen at least most of those. I may have seen parts of one of them.
Yeah.
But the other 2 I have not seen. Green Inferno, Knock Knock, I have not seen.
You haven't seen Knock Knock?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's surprising. I love it.
It might be one of those movies I start watching and I have seen. I don't know. There's a lot of movies I've seen and didn't register at the time. It maybe. I don't know. It doesn't sound familiar to me.
Yes. I have not seen Green Inferno, just because when in my house, when I say Eli Roth, the wife goes, nope.
Well, again, because he's known for
the realistic body horror, yes.
Right.
Yeah. All right. I'm
No,
excited
I
though.
absolutely have not seen Knock Knock. I just looked it up. Yeah, with fucking Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas. No, I have
Uh-huh.
not seen it
Oh,
because
it's good.
I love both of those people, and I would definitely have remembered if I saw it. But no, yeah, I've not seen it. So anyway, remember, we watch bad movies, so you don't have to.
And this has been Graveyard saying, "Have you checked on the children?"
This is Salem saying, "Long live the new flesh."
Good night.